Today we're gonna craft a needle book, but it is gonna be in the shape of a hamburger. I asked everyone for name ideas and Carissa voted on the Hemburger, and I love a good pun, so the name of this is gonna be Hemburger. This is gonna be a full walkthrough tutorial of me stitching this step by step. If you would like to purchase the PDF pattern of this, which will have the template and everything, you can do that on my website. I'll have the product linked in the description of this video. I have two different video tutorial options. One tutorial will be for those who like watching me stitch in real time, and one will be for those who prefer the sped up version. So this tutorial is the real-time stitching tutorial. So if you prefer a faster one with everything sped up, I'll have that linked down below and you can go over to that one. All right guys, let's get to stitching. Once you've printed out your piece of paper, you are going to cut each of these shapes out. Now I have mine printed on the sticker paper that I listed in the, I want to say ingredients, that I listed in the supplies list. But you can also just use a regular piece of paper like this and then either pin it on top of the felt once you're done cutting it out, or tape it on top of the felt and cut it out that way. I just have so much of the sticker paper and I do find it a little bit easier to use, so I'm going to go ahead and cut each of these shapes out. Now that we have all of our shapes cut out, it is time to cut our felt out in the shape of these. I'm going to start with my bigger shapes first and then do the smaller ones. All of the felt colors that I'm using are tagged in the Amazon listing that I added to the supplies list. These aren't labeled when you get them, they all just come in a big pack, but that's why I'm just saying like yellow or lime green or red or dark red, but those are all the same colors that are here. So I'm gonna start with this one. So I need only one of these shapes in the color white. So since this is sticker paper, I'm just gonna peel this, which always just is difficult for some reason. I'm just gonna stick this. Sometimes it's a little extra sticky and I don't want it to pull off too much of my felt, so sometimes I just like loosen the stick just a little bit. All right. I typically cut out just like a rough cut, and then I go in and do more of the details. Perfect. So I'm going to do 4 of these in tan, which is the burger bun color, 1 of these in red, which is my tomato color, and then 2 of these in brown, which is my burger color. If you have a cat, I would recommend putting your scraps in a safe place. Peppy definitely just tried to eat one that looked like this, so I had to move these to a safe area. It's always good to make sure you put your needles and thread away in a place where they can't get it, because cats will try to eat the thread and then they don't want to swallow the needle, but then by the time they get to the end of the thread with the needle, then they have no choice but to swallow the needle, and a lot of cats end up having to get emergency surgeries from that. So just make sure you put this stuff in places where they can't get it, because they just know exactly what you don't want them to do, and that's exactly what they're going to do, especially if you have a little rascal like I do. So these are some of the different greens that came in the pack. For the lettuce, the lime green one, I'm doing this really bright one. And then these 2 are for the pickles. You can use literally any colors you want. I just know people ask me which ones I use, so these are the ones I'm using. He's back, unfortunately. And he may be getting kicked out. Look at them toes. So this is what you should have once your pieces are all cut out. Now we're going to grab a circular tan piece of felt and we are going to stitch the little sesame seeds on it. And you can put as many or as little as you would like. I am using all 6 strands of embroidery thread, and then I am just going to tie a single knot at the end of this strand. And y'all know sesame seeds are just randomly dispersed, so don't get caught up on putting them all in the exact right same place. I literally just fill it in until it looks good to me. And for the stitches, so I will start with doing a single straight stitch. And then I'm kind of, well, I'll make all of these different shapes. I don't want them to be the same because if you look at a hamburger bun with sesame seeds, they're all random, different shapes and sizes. So that's kind of what I want this to look like too. So I'm not trying to make any of them the same. So then I'm gonna go next to the sesame seed. I'm gonna pull it through near the top, but you can tell it's not like all the way to the very top. And then I'm going to insert the needle back below the bottom of the first stitch we made. And there's one of our sesame seeds. I'm just going to go over here. And make a sesame seed going like this way. And then this second stitch, I'll do it a little bit lower. Put it back down here. Just like that. And then I'll just keep going around the hamburger bun until I'm happy with the amount of seeds. And when you're pulling this through, you don't want to pull it crazy tight like this because then that'll like smush the felt. So you just want to like pull it until it's straight like this. You don't need to like tug it, just to make sure you pull it all the way through. So you don't want to like bunch up your felt. Now I still want to add some more seeds in this area, but I am running out of thread, so I am going to tie my thread off in the back. And the way to do that is I am just going to take my needle and I'm going to put it under a previous stitch like this. I'm going to do that one more time and pull the needle all the way through, but I'll pull the thread through until about right here, till it creates this little loop. And then I will take my needle and I will put it through the loop, and I will pull my needle and thread all the way through the loop. And that will create a knot. And I'm just going to do that one more time, so I'm just going to double knot it in the back. Perfect. This is called Thread Magic, and I do not stitch without it. Basically, it keeps your thread from knotting up as much, so it makes it so much easier to work with. But I absolutely love it. There's a lot of different benefits to it, and I have like a whole video talking about different thread tricks, tips, hacks to keep it from knotting up as much. And I will also tag that video in the description below if any of you are interested in learning more about working with your thread. So now I am just going to keep on making random sesame seeds until this area seems more filled in. I'm happy with this. And the back looks crazy, but it doesn't matter because this will be covered. All right, now we are done with the top of our bun. Now we're gonna grab another one of our tan circle felt pieces and our mustard, also our yellow thread. We are only gonna use 3 strands of thread instead of all 6 strands. And I talk about how to separate strands of thread in my thread video I was referencing. Then we'll just make a single knot at the end. Now to attach the mustard to the bun, I'm just gonna do a running stitch. Super easy. So I'll just pull my needle through the back of the felt. So I wanna make sure it goes through the bun and the mustard. And then I'm gonna work around the edge of the mustard just like this. So I'm gonna pull my needle through. Zoom in a little bit more. Then we're just gonna go forward a little bit just like this. This size does not matter. We're just trying to attach the mustard to the bread. So don't get caught up on the size of your stitches or anything like that. As long as it's sticking to it, that's all that matters. So then I'll insert my needle back into the felt. I'm making sure I'm going through the mustard and the bread. And then I'm gonna pull my needle and thread all the way through. Then I'm going to skip a little bit of an area. It doesn't need to be an exact stitch length or anything. I'm just gonna start it over here. Pull my needle through. Skip a stitch length. Insert the thread back through the thread of the needle. And then pull it all the way through. And then we just keep doing that all around the mustard until we're back at our starting point. Just be careful not to stab yourself. Go nice and slow. Uh-oh, Peppy's here. Might be getting kicked out. He always just wants to sit right where I'm working. And then he'll lightly bite my arm or my hand as if I'm in his way. me show y'all what Peppy's doing right now. It's literally right here. And the sun coming in from the windows over here. But he's not biting me, so yet, at least. It's possible I have enough to finish where we started, but it is getting shorter by the second, so I'm going to go ahead and tie off my thread in the back and get a new piece. Perfect. We're going to attach the inside of the tomato pieces to our tomato slice. So we are going to use our red thread and we're going to use 3 strands, and then we just tied a knot at the end again. So I'm just going to attach one at a time, and I just laid them in here first to make sure they all fit how I would like them to. Also, this is like, if you see these, this is just a thread gloss, like little leftover bits of it. I just didn't want you guys to think they were like boogers or something, okay? Because they're not. Look, see how uneven, like how these are different compared to these? It doesn't matter. Some people send me pictures of their stuff and they're like, it looks so bad. Like, look how crooked this is, blah, blah, blah. Like, yours looks so good. And then I'll zoom in on my stuff and send it to them. I'll be like, mine is also crooked. And they'll be like, whoa, I never noticed. And I'm just always like, yeah, it's because you've been like, which I mean, I get it, but like, it's because you've been staring at yours for so long and you're going to be super hard on yourself. So, like, if you look closely at my stuff too, like, you can always see like little imperfections, but I love the imperfections and that's what makes it handmade. I don't know, like not everything needs to be like perfectly even apart or stitched or the same perfect size or whatever. Like I don't want mine to be. I want it to kind of look a little, I want it to be handmade. I want it to look handmade. I think it's cute. And it's hard. And some days I'm able to not care about it being like quote unquote perfect, and then other days I want it to be more perfect, whatever. But those days are less and less. Like and normally it's if I'm having a day where I'm like, this needs to look perfect, or I'm being really picky for me personally. I'm not saying for anyone else. That just means I'm being grumpy and I'm in a bad mood. The days where I'm like, it's all pretty, like I don't care how this looks. I'm happy and having a good day. The other days when I worry more is like when I'm just being hard on myself and not just letting myself have fun. So don't be hard on yourself is all I'm trying to say. Because no one's stitches or anything is never perfect. I know we want it to look good at the end, and I really believe that they all do. But for me, the most important thing is to have fun while I'm making it. And then having something cool at the end is just a plus side. It's just the icing on the cake. But my main goal is to have fun. One thing about my cat Peppy is he will be biting me before I have to film a tutorial of anything. Now I'm going to attach the yolk to our egg, and in the one I did over here, I didn't have it as centered. I did a little off center because I thought that was just cuter. I like when it's like a little wonky. So you can put this wherever you want, but I'm feeling like right here. And I'm using the same yellow thread that I used for stitching the mustard onto the hamburger bun. So I'm going to stitch this like 3/4 of the way around, and then I'm going to stop and we're going to stuff the yolk, which is optional. I just like it because I feel like it gives a little extra fluff. But once again, totally optional, up to you. Sure. Trying to let a little more light in since Peppy is blocking my light. Okay, I know this isn't exactly 3/4, but whatever. So now I'm going to go ahead and stuff the egg yolk. So there's a couple different options for this. You can buy stuffing, fluff, whatever. I just got this at Michael's and use that to stuff it. That is what I used in here, but another option is if you have a lot of leftover thread scraps, you can also use that to stuff as well. So I think I'm going to do that in this one. I keep a lot of my thread scraps just in case I ever need them. Sometimes they do get thrown away, but yeah, then it can make it easy to stuff. I made my nieces and nephews felt stuffed animals for Christmas, so I had some of this left over, which is why I used it in my last one. But yeah, so for this, I'm just going to use some thread. And you don't want it to be like so stuffed to the point it's not really like fluffy anymore. I feel like this is good. So now I'm going to go ahead and finish stitching this closed. Perfect. Now we're done with the egg. And now we're gonna go ahead and stitch our cheese slice onto our burger. And I have it just like this, nothing fancy. And I'm gonna use the same yellow that we used for the mustard and the yolk. All right, and now I'm just going to tie this off in the back. So now we're going to attach our little grill marks to our burger. There's no perfect way to arrange these, so you can just do whatever feels good to you. I had mine a little mine were pretty random on here. So I just want to make sure they're spaced out and not going past the edge of the burger. And mine will probably end up getting a little messed up while I'm stitching this, and that's okay. I'm just gonna lay these out over here, and I'll just add them one at a time. All right, now I'm gonna grab my dark brown thread and get 3 strands of it, and that's what I'll use to stitch these on. For stitching these, I just wanna have 1 stitch across the very top. And then I'm gonna do 1 line down this way, 1 across the top, and then 1 line down the other way. Because these are so small, this is gonna be probably the most difficult portion to stitch, but I don't think it's too bad. It's just more so annoying having to hold these little itty bitty little pieces down. Some people will use a glue gun to glue parts of it down, and I think that's a good option. I would just be careful. I've not used a glue gun on this specific brand of felt, so I don't know if it would like melt the felt or not. And then another thing to keep in mind about that is the glue hardens so much. So if you glue in an area and then stitch over top of it to have the stitched effect look or whatever, it may be really difficult to, or impossible to get your needle through anywhere there's glue just because it's so hard. So those are just a couple of things I would keep in mind if you were to decide to glue the pieces down. I'm very pro doing whatever feels right and works best for you. If you do have a hard time with this, you can also just do like 1 line of stitches down the center too. Just do whatever works. Next up, we have our little pickle slices. So in order to get the pickle edge effect, I am using zigzag scissors or pinking shears, whatever it is you would like to call them. I always say zigzag scissors, and certain people get upset with me for not saying pinking shears, but either term, I just feel like zigzag sounds more fun. All right, so now I am just going to cut around the edges of the dark green pickle slice with the zigzag scissors. And then when I go to do the next cut, I'm just gonna try to align like this piece here. I'm gonna make sure it's like put in the zigzag here, so it's like consistent. There we go. And then that fits in there nicely. Now we'll do the other one. So cute. So now I'm going to grab one of my bun circles and I'm just going to arrange these how I want them to be arranged. So I kind of want one a little higher like this. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and attach this one, and I'm going to use 3 strands of green thread. And I'm just going to directly stitch through the light green and the dark green to the bun and just get it attached like this. It's a little less work for us this way. So now we are going to attach our pieces that need to be attached. So we're going to start with our top bun. So I'm going to put this here, and then I'm going to put this right on top here, just like this. You can easily hold this and stitch it together. I have these little clip guys for sewing purposes. You don't need to have these, but they're useful. I'll add them to the description. Now to attach these pieces, we're going to use something called the blanket stitch. So I have 3 strands of thread in my light brown color. So to start, I am just going to pull my needle and thread through the top layer here. So I'm just going through one of the pieces of felt. Now I'm going to go ahead and take the tail of the thread and put it in here so it's hidden. Now I am going to take the needle and I'm going to insert it through both layers of the felt. And I want to bring, so I'm stitching from like back to front. I'm just showing it at this angle so you guys can see. And you want to bring the needle through the same hole in the front here, just like this. So then you're going to pull your needle and thread all the way through. Now I'm going to have this little loop here, and we're going to put our needle under the loop. And then we're going to pull it tight. And you don't want to like make it as tight as possible. You just want it to be kind of tight. So now I'm going to skip a stitch length, which once again, these aren't going to be perfect. I have been using this thing, which I got off Amazon. It's just like a little stitch marker. I have found it useful for the felt projects because it kind of gives you like the distance here. I also like it because it just like this area holds this flat for me. So I'm going to use this, but you do not have to use it. Once again, I will tag it, but it's not necessary. I just got them to test it out and I do like it. I mainly like this because it holds the felt like flat for me. So now I'm going to skip a stitch length and I'm going to go through both pieces of felt for the rest of the time we work around the top of the burger bun. And I'm going to stitch from the back to the front, so towards me. So I'm going to go back here. This looks like about the stitch marker there, but once again, it doesn't need to be perfect. Now, once I get this loop, I'm going to put my needle through the loop here. I'm going to pull it tight like that. You can see it makes a little knot. And I'm just going to keep doing that. And it kind of helps to pull, like I'm pulling this thread this way, and that kind of helps create the knot. So then I grab this and pull it kind of away like this. I do one of these. I'm going to show you now what to do if you run out of thread while you're working on the blanket stitch. I recorded what to do when I was stitching the hamburger patty because that's when I ran out of thread, but you might run out at any point, so I just wanted to go ahead and insert that, and I just didn't want you to be confused when you saw the hamburger patty. On the stitch you just made, pull your thread through the same portion here again. And just make like another knot. So you would just like pull the thread through that area. And you could just do that one more time. So pull your needle and thread through the same area right here. Once you have a little loop here, go ahead and make a knot. So now I am going to take this and put it in between the felt patty pieces, and I'm going to It's like it was never there. All right, to get started, we'll do the same thing. So pull the needle and thread through just the front side. I'm putting the needle and thread through both sides now. Putting it through the loop, and we're going to keep it moving till we get back to the starting place. I lied. I don't want to use these. This is optional. I do want my burger bun to be a little stuffed. So I am gonna grab some of my spare thread because clearly I have a lot of it. And I am going to just stuff some of it at the very top of the burger bun. But just a little bit. I don't want it to be too firm. I still want it to be kind of fluffy, so. All right, I feel happy with this amount. So now I'm gonna finish stitching this up. Now to finish this off, I'm going to pull my, so this is the very first stitch we made, right? So I'm gonna pull my needle and thread under here. So I still wanna make sure we have our line throughout, right? And then I'm gonna make a knot. So I'm gonna pull it under the same spot till we have a little loop. Make the knot just like that. And you can make another one if you want to be like extra secure. I always do just because like might as well. And now I'm going to insert my needle and thread through both pieces of felt. And then I'm going to pull this through back here. And there you have it. There's the top of our bun. Now we're going to do the same thing to our bottom bun. Look at that. Now it is time to assemble and stitch our whole burger together. So on the last one I did, I just stitched a really small section of it together. So I don't know, what is this, an inch or two, whatever. You guys just get a general idea. So I didn't have to stitch like a big portion of it together, but I would just keep in mind that we need everything to align in the burger sandwich about like this much here. So I would grab my lettuce next, and I think like this flat edge area here would be a good place to connect and stitch this together. So I'm going to just put this about right here. Like that looks good to me. Next, I would put my tomato. So I'm just going to kind of align, since it's the same shape as my bun, I'm just going to align it with my bun as best as I can. After the tomato, I would put my egg. So I think I'm going to do this portion here. It's like pretty flat. So I'm going to put it like about right there. I'm just trying to keep everything kind of aligned. All right, then I would put my burger and my cheese I would have on top. So I'm gonna grab that right here. Like this is looking good. Then my bottom bun. And I think I would kind of want it to be like a little angled. So it looks like this when I open it. From this thumb to this thumb is how I would stitch it. So I'm going to use 3 strands of the tan thread, the same color I used to stitch this here. And then I have 2 knots at the end. So to start, I'm going to pull my needle and thread through the bottom portion of the bun. So you can see I'm kind of like opening it up like this. And then I'm just going to pull it through. So now I'm going to pull my needle and thread through everything. So I'm going to put it through every little ingredient that we made. And now I'm going to make a single stitch through the back of the burger. And I want to make sure I go through every ingredient again, going through the top. And then I'm going to make a single straight stitch again. Make sure it goes through every single ingredient. And I'm going to do that again through the back, making sure it goes through every single ingredient. Again in the front. Again in the back. And again in the front. I'm going to do one more through the back. For the last one, I am going to make another stitch, just like this. But I'm not going to pull it through the back of the burger bun. So I'm just going to pull it through like this. Now we want to make sure everything seems tight and secure, like this. Perfect. Now this right here is the previous stitch we just made. So we're going to take our needle and thread and put it under here. Pull it through. And now we're going to make a couple knots. So I'm going to pull the needle and thread under there again. Till it makes this loop. I'm going to pull needle and thread through the loop to make a knot. And you can do this like as many times as you want. I would say maybe like 2 or 3 times, just to make sure it's extra secure, because I just feel like you can never be too careful. I would rather you be able to see like an extra knot and then it just be extra secure than you see like a small knot, I guess. I don't know. And it be not as secure, but totally up to you. All right, and then once you're done making your knots, you can put your needle and thread through the center of your burger bun again, like we do earlier when we're trying to kind of hide the tail of the thread. So just like this. So it's not going through this, just the center. Then we'll pull it through. And then just trim it right here. And look at that. There she is. I like adding my needles in like this, since this is like the spine of the book. I have a less chance of like stabbing myself, so I just go ahead and put them in like this. I was just thinking, like, what if I stab myself after I said that? It would happen to me. Now they're ready to be organized and used, or whatever it may be. So cute. I love it so much. Let me know what you guys think, and if you have any questions for me in the comments down below. And I just hope you loved making this as much as I did. And I hope you get as much use out of yours as I do with mine. I've always seen the needle books and I've always thought that they were really cute, but I just never thought I would use one. But then I had the idea to do a burger and I was like, oh, that's really cute. It just seems fun to make, so I'll go ahead and do it. But I really use this a lot now, so I'm so happy. I would love to see yours if you do make one. Tag me on Instagram, or you can email it to me. I'll list my email down below. My DMs tend to get lost sometimes on my socials, so email is always the best way to get in contact with me. Take a bite.